Pronouncers, we've got an exciting episode. Today, we've got the CEO, Frank Myers of S&S Activewear out of Bolingbrook, Illinois. I think everybody's heard that they've acquired AlphaBroder. Now, what exactly does that mean is what we're going to dive into in this episode. Frank is joining us. He's been at S&S for a long time. So very excited to have him. But first, we've got a couple incredible sponsors that help us put on this show every single week.
If you need a solution to improve efficiency and reduce costs in your art department, Graphic Source is the solution for you. They plug and play with Printavo and other shop management softwares, and it comes to SEPs, mockups, creative art, order management, embroidery, digitizing, back office admin, and customer service. There's no better company in the industry to work with. I just shot him a message the other day that said I desperately needed another artist to work for us, just for 2 or 3 weeks. And they had someone staffed within a couple of days. They have over 40 years in the game. They really know and understand shops' needs and have a proven track record of success. Hit them up. Use code PrintavoPod24 for your first vector, SEP, or embroidery order and get 50% off.
DTF Superstore and BMAC Industries. That's BMAC Industries. BMAC Industries put out a really cool dryer shaker piece of equipment that they are selling through dealers. You can check it out at bmacindustries.com. They've got innovative solutions for the DTF printing industry, and DTFSuperstore.com has all of the consumables and equipment and help and assistance and education and even a really cool trade show to be able to help you learn a lot more and buy stuff for your DTF side, which Justin actually is head first dove into. So that's really cool.
Those that don't know, DTF Superstore supports Campus Inc. And they've been with me along my journey, taking care of us, and really, really appreciate the work that they've done. And so if you're interested, hit them up. And their new dryer is pretty wicked. So Bruce, I want to tell you about this new software platform, another software platform. It's cooler than Printavo, actually. It's called DGI Apparel, and it was built by a group of MIT engineers. And Bruce, I know you went to U of I, but MIT is way more smarter. And so they actually have a background in screen printing. DGI allows you to connect your accounts with Sanmar, AlphaBroder, S&S, and a bunch of other suppliers to compare prices, inventory, and shipping across every apparel supplier on one website. You don't need multiple monitors. You can literally do it on one website. The average shop spends 2 hours purchasing every day, and DGI will cut that time in half. So ask yourself, what would you do with an extra hour every day? And what's actually interesting is they didn't give us a promo code because DGI is free. And it's always going to be free for shops to use. That's right. It costs you $0 forever. And so if you're not already using DGI, you're wasting your own time and money. Sign up today at dgiapparel.com. Tell them that we sent you and join the 1,500 other shops that are saving in time and money on their purchasing. Thanks so much, Ian and the team. They were at the trade show, and I think they were wearing safety vests with their lame frickin' MIT looking booth. Love them.
Justin is occasionally cleaning screens, so it's not fully a thing in the past, but he enjoys it. And/or just has to do it when someone's out. But Easy Way is there to help with their innovative formulas, which are designed to work quickly and effectively. So you can spend less time cleaning and more time creating. Or, in Justin's case, going to the gym and eating some fat ribeyes. Plus, Easy Way is passionate about empowering printers of all skill levels. They have tons of helpful resources and expert advice actually on their website too. So just easyway.com to help you succeed in printing. Last but not least, Multicraft Daddy, Multicraft_Daddy. If you need ink supplies or a daddy, Multicraft screen printing and digital supplies have been around for 50 plus years. 50 years. That's a long time. They've been providing the industry with top brands at competitive pricing. And if you mention the Printavo pod, that gets you 10% off your first order. And if you DM Multicraft_Daddy, send him your email address. He's sending all kinds of really awesome stuff out, including PMI tape. And share a nice comment. He's surpassed, we're just going to use that word. He's surpassed 1,000 followers. So incredible.
His content game is good. We're proud of you, Dave.
Hell yeah,
Keep
Dave.
it up.
All right, here we go. Let's jump on in. We've got Shirt Show combined with Print Hustles podcast. We've got Dylan the Magician out of upstate New York. We've got Andy Rudman. He's back with a better back. Hopefully he just does no more high diving or playing at jungle gyms or anything else that would cause a problem. Hurricane Farag is back, and Bruce, myself, from Printavo / Inktovo / all the other things. So, all right, we're excited for this one. I'm just going to give a quick background, and then we just got so many good questions. And, right before I hit record, Frank goes, I got something to share. So don't share it too early, please, because we're building up a really cool press release. But we've got Frank Myers, the CEO of S&S Activewear, joining us today. Frank, you've been a part of S&S for quite some time, since 2009, but I could barely find any info about you online. I think there's like a few videos speckled here and there, but it's pretty low key. S&S Activewear, if you don't use them as a distributor, they're huge, based in Bolingbrook, been around a long time, 4 million square feet, distribution centers across North America. We're talking Canada, Puerto Rico, and 9 in the US, with 2023 reported revenue of $2.1 billion. Billion. Andy, I said billion, not million. That's huge. That's massive. So, first of all, Frank, thanks so much for being able to join us. We're really just excited to chat and hopefully learn a lot from you.
Right on. Yeah. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Okay. So just if you could tell us, going back to 2009 when you joined S&S, what was that like? What was the company like?
Yeah. So I actually started working with S&S in 2006. I was at an investment bank, and S&S was a client. So I've been around the industry and kind of the company and original team since 06, and then joined in 09. And at that time, we were a single location distributor. So we had our Bolingbrook location, which I think at the time was like 450,000 square feet. And they brought me on really to like help execute a national expansion strategy. So I started, and then pretty much immediately went out to California to work on the acquisition of Americana Sportswear, which I don't know if some of your listeners, I'm sure, will remember that.
Eva and Americana, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Eva was 2013 in New Jersey. And then, or it was in New York. We moved it to Jersey. And that's sort of what completed the national expansion for S&S. And then we did a handful of sort of greenfield openings in Kansas City, Dallas, Fort Worth, and Atlanta. And so that's what really rounded out our national footprint. And then right before COVID, we acquired Technosport, which is in Canada, which is like the worst timing to do an international acquisition. It literally closed 12/31/20. So it was like you couldn't go to Canada for a long time after that. But that ended up being really successful integration for us. And then, a couple other acquisitions in the last few years. And obviously just announced a couple months ago and closed last month on the acquisition of Alpha. So a lot of exciting stuff happening, and it's a lot different business than it was when I started in 09, but still kind of the same value principles and a lot of the same team. So it's super fun.
Frank, are the original founders, Jeff and Paul, still involved?
They are active at the board level. So they're like board observers.
Bruce, they went to Illinois.
Yeah.
So
I know, I've heard.
We went there too.
Illini guys.
They are Illini guys. But yeah, no, I mean, still super close relationships with both those guys. I had drinks with Jeff. It was his birthday last week. So we took him out for drinks on Friday. And they're both doing great and enjoying the next chapter of their less crazy t-shirt life.
Frank, when you came on in the beginning, was it meant to be like a push to expand, or was you just came in and you were kind of like, hey, we need to do this? Like, how did that happen?
I mean, it was a little of both. Like we had in 06 sort of built out this expansion strategy. I think the timing that we did it under was more aggressive than I think what we had planned to do. But really, like, Jim and Jeff hired me to do this and drive this. So that was sort of my mission. And like that kind of 2015 to 2018 timeframe when we did those 3 openings, like that was the most aggressive part of the whole thing. And we were like growing so fast. And, like we were redoing our bank deal, like sometimes twice a year to keep up with like how fast we were growing. So it was just like all hands on, hiring salespeople like crazy. Everybody was doing a million different jobs. And it was super fun, but like not at a very measured pace.
I was going to say that's a long time to go from 2006 till now. Has that been your focus the whole time? Is just like growing the company and expanding, or looking for new things to acquire, or how does that?
Yeah. So like I started more on the finance side. And so I was CFO and then became COO and oversaw operations for like that kind of like 2010 to 2020 period, basically 2021. And so like our whole thing has always been about super, super good vendor and customer relationships, and then like operational excellence and pushing technology as far as we possibly can in the distribution business model. So like, we looked at ourselves in 2009 and we like, there wasn't really any API protocols. There wasn't very sophisticated websites. I think like when I started at S&S, I want to say something like 30% of our orders came in over fax. So there was like this kind of transformation that we had to do in this industry to like get it caught up to like what normal, real, B2B distribution looks like. And so, we started to measure ourselves against not like our competitive set, but really best in class distributors across other industries. And so that really pushed us, operationally, pushed us from a product perspective, business model, everything to like really grow and evolve. And so it was like, my role, like I obviously spent a lot of time on these expansions, but like it was more of a way to get us to mean more to our vendors and mean more to our national accounts. And so like we kind of grew with them, and it was pretty wild because we had vendors like, please open on the West Coast, please open on the East Coast, please open in Texas, please open in Georgia. So like, and then obviously all the big national type accounts wanting the same. So it was cool because it kind of organically happened and everyone wanted it. And so that's why it was really successful.
Frank, when you are trying to acquire another business, actually the talk of acquisitions and merging companies, like that's been a hot topic in our industry, like on the ground floor. When you're approaching a business, like, do you slide into their DMs and message their CEO and be like, hey, you up right now? Are you thinking about this? Is there like, how does this give us like just a look into your world of what you do? 'Cause it's so fascinating that you can move such a big ship and, swallow up another company so quickly.
Yeah. Well, I guess first of all, to Bruce's kind of opening points, like I don't have DMs, so I'm like kind of low profile, not on the socials, but like we have
those faxes Frank mentioned.
Yeah, I faxed their owner.
Big fax guy.
I've heard Warren Buffett does all of his deals over fax still. So maybe there's something to that.
It's the baller move. Yeah, it's the unexpected.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, we have a pipeline of companies that we're interested in that makes sense, and have ongoing dialogue. Things that might never make sense might make sense in 10 years, might make sense in 3 years, make sense now. And so, we're talking to different people and different types of businesses and trying to figure out when the timing and stars align to make stuff happen. And so we've been really fortunate. We've been able to partner with some great companies over the years. Obviously this Alpha one's the largest, most transformational, and most exciting. So we're really looking forward to, continue. Obviously the focus right now is integration, but there's other interesting things out there to do. So
I'm sure you have, a bit of a playbook to do this now, because it sounds like a lot of companies have folded under S&S. But what was, you talked about maybe the difficulties of the Canadian acquisition, especially right before COVID. What was the most difficult? What happened?
Yeah, I mean, so I would say to the playbook, like we're super lucky that we have a team that's been in place and done pretty much all of these from IT, through operations, through sales leadership. So we've over the years sort of developed different, project plans and roadmaps to how to do this. And we've been really fortunate that all the companies that we've acquired have been running the same WMS and ERP. And it's a super solid system that we know really well. It's really stable. Like our whole thing is we built our own system, like end to end. And that's a huge differentiator for us. But like the companies we've bought have all been using the same system. That's really easy to work with. And so we've been able to integrate pretty seamlessly with that system and convert pretty quickly. And like, that's the scariest part from the outside, obviously. It's like, that's a ton of data, a ton of transactions and complexity to merge. But, we've done it 6 times now. And so like, that's not the thing that keeps me up at night. And so what's great about that is like for our customers, they know that we're not going to have service failures. We're not going to have issues, with their orders and getting them product when they need it.
What does keep you up at night, Frank? You can't tease us with that. And then
everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think there's a lot of like, we're thinking through exactly, not only what this industry is and was, but like what it needs and should be going forward and how we enable growth for our customers. Like at the end of the day, we exist, similar to all your guys' businesses because our customers exist and we only grow when they grow and want more and buy more. And so like, thinking about everything from the products we offer to the sales coverage model, how we think about credit terms, how we think about, different types of integrations and technologies that we can, partner with our customers on. Like those are all the interesting kind of trickier things to figure out for us than like how to successfully combine these two businesses, from an operations and IT perspective.
Bruce, I know you're moderating and I don't want to skip ahead, but I'm like goldfish brain. So I'm going to ask, for us printers and people buying these blanks and whatnot, what was the big, like, what's the big benefits for us other than buying it all from one place with this acquisition of Broder? What else can we see that'll be like a plus for us?
Yeah. So, I mean, you'll have more brands in one destination than has ever existed in the industry, more inventory, depth, breadth, which is a huge key purchase consideration, obviously, for decorators and promotional products distributors, like just being able to go one place and have everything you need. The other big one is, from an operations standpoint, the reach that we have 1 and 2 day together is even better than it was apart, which is really hard to do without opening like 25 more DCs in all these small random rural areas. But, we've done a tremendous amount of investment in technology in our distribution centers in terms of order processing to be able to pick more per day, ship more per day on time accurately. And so we'll be bringing that technology to the AlphaBroder experience. And so, like error rates will be lower, misship times will be less frequent, and all of the kind of like big sort of operational friction points hopefully are minimized.
Did you guys see the tech video investment side? If you watch the full thing, halfway through, there's literally robots carrying bins around the floor. So the goal was like, all right, hey, look, we have the problem now of, and Frank, tell me where I'm, misquoting things, but like there's 700 plus or 800,000 square feet of warehouse space. And we don't want people driving around or walking around the warehouse because it just takes too long. So these robots will get the bins and bring them to the picker and constantly reorganize. And, it looks like the bins come off of some sort. They pick this stuff and then they seem to hit a button. When it's done, it goes back and just leaves and then goes into the box. And it looks like a bag, like some sort of folder, and sealer seals the bag and it just goes off into some sort of shipping apparatus. I mean, that's crazy. The fact that that's all happening at the same time.
Yeah. And I mean, what's super cool about all of it is like everybody wins there. Like the customer gets a more accurate on-time order. The employee has a safer and, candidly easier job to do. It's more efficient for us. Like it's just like one of those win-win-win scenarios. It's like, I mean, the coolest thing any of us have been a part of in our careers to be able to like find and implement a solution like this. But I mean, like, yeah, it's basically these Roomba robots drive around, bring the product to another portal, and then like a suction
also
cup
cleans
goes.
The floor.
No, unfortunately they don't.
Can you put a Swiffer? Can you just put a Swiffer on the bottom of it?
You should patent that quickly.
Now, Frank, when we've talked about like there's going to be a lot of positives. I think when this news came out, a lot of printers were scared. We'll just have to, talk about kind of the elephant in the room, and maybe me and Andy can bust your chops on some of these questions. But like immediately when I saw this, I was like, okay, cool, because I don't really buy from Alpha a ton, but I was also like, all right, prices are going up. That's immediately what hit my gut, right? what do you say to the printer that thinks, okay, this is a little bit of a monopoly play. They're going to control more of the market. They can control prices a little bit more. Now it's really just them against Sanmar. What's the response to that? Because I think that was just a general feeling, whether it's true or not. That's how we felt.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think I heard you guys say that on one of your podcasts at some point during the summer. I think first of all, I can tell you, like, we didn't underwrite like some big margin, like pricing benefit in this transaction. Like, it's not predicated on that happening. And that's really not the motivation to do it. Like, this whole integration is only successful if we don't lose market share. And so, like, for us, it's really focused on keeping the customer and making sure that nothing happens where we sell one less shirt. And so for us, that means we're in a competitive market. We have very strong competitors that we need to price to. And like, it's not about price for us. Like, the other thing I'd say is, like, to an average decorator, like, if you really think about what an error costs you, like if you get misshipped product and set up and have to count it in and call and return it and get another, wait another day or whatever, like, the benefit of a more accurate order is actually way less expensive than paying, a penny less a shirt or whatever for a normal order. So, like,
I would agree with that too, because my shipping and receiving people, that's always been their biggest thing, is they'll come to me and be like, hey, I may have ordered this shirt and it was a little bit cheaper from this distributor and not this distributor, but can you just stop ordering from them because every other order is messed up, or I have to recount something, or I have to send something back. So, and that to us was Broder, which is why 99% of what we order is from S&S. And we were just like, just stop ordering from them. Like, even if it's a little bit cheaper, it's like, just, we have to, because every other order is messed up or whatever. So I think that's a huge factor for us as a printer. I would rather pay cents more for the convenience and the customer service than I would for the, initial cheaper blank.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't know, did anyone else take the survey that S&S sent out a week or so ago? There was a survey and I did it. And first of all, it was a little bit too long, Frank. It took me like at least,
I'll write that
I don't
down.
know, like damn near a half hour. But
It
was interesting. I did it because I had to. I started it, so I had to complete it. I had to finish it. But it was interesting because what you just mentioned, there were a few things in there. Like, it had some questions. You had to choose which was most important to you, and was it cost? Was it sustainability? Was it accuracy? I mean, and you had to kind of weigh them out. And so I really liked that part, and I tried really hard to.
What did you pick?
Give my honest. Well, yeah, it's sort of what Dylan just said. I'd rather have an accurate order and pay a little more. I'd rather have better customer service and pay a little more. If something goes wrong, I want a hotline, basically concierge service that I'm like, hey, this went wrong. No questions asked. It's fixed, and then it's sent to me the next day. And then, yeah, I'd pay more per shirt or per order or whatever to know that that I have all that, because it costs you. If you think about it, it costs you more if those things are messed up and delayed and all that kind of stuff. If you get an order that isn't right, well, then that costs you more. And so, yeah, you want those things. And so, yeah. And then my two-part, this is like a two-part question. My other question to you, or I don't know if that was a question as much as it was a comment, is that my question is it going to be one website? So, how in the past you've acquired Eva and all those others, and it turns into another location, basically. So are we going to log into S&S and there's going to be multiple more locations, or is there always going to be these separate websites?
Yeah. So and this is the big exciting news, is we've kind of finally gotten our arms around what this looks like. But, we went to the market to try to kind of understand, like, if there was a need or a desire from the customer to have two separate experiences. And where we landed was that, we're going to go to one brand for apparel distribution, which means one website. And so when you log in, you'll see, all the warehouses that are available for whatever product you're looking at. And then, and I don't know if you guys know this, but right now, if you order on S&S and then you get to the end, you can actually optimize your shipment based on where you are to, like, the lowest transit time or fewest shipments. And so we'll have that same, we call it the freight optimizer algorithm. available. So you can basically just pick, it doesn't matter which location you pick when you're on the product page, it'll optimize it for you at the end. But all of the Alpha and S&S sites will be on that same page.
Was that a unanimous decision? Because what psychopath would want to go to 2 websites to order their blanks?
It was not a unanimous decision, believe it or
Really?
not. No, I mean, we just had a lot to think through about, like, if there was certain features or, like, what exactly the different value props of the brands were. And, there's different types of customers, obviously. I mean, it's like, I know you guys know this, but, you have everything from like a mom and pop shop that maybe does one job a month to people that are transmitting literally tens of thousands of orders to us a week. And so it's like trying to figure out what works for everyone in between is super hard. And so we wanted to just make sure we were thoughtful, because once you combine them, you can't go back, obviously. So
yeah, that's something to consider, because if you think about it, let's say that you're a diehard Broder person or AlphaBroder person, and for whatever reason you don't like S&S, and so you all of a sudden merge, and now it's just S&S, and maybe you go to Sanmar instead. You're like, hey, wait, I'm just going to go to Sanmar. I mean, car companies do that and have that issue all the time when they acquire a brand or whatever, and let's say you have a loyal person to Audi, and then if Volkswagen, I know they own Audi, but if you just called it Volkswagen all of a sudden, maybe you wouldn't buy it, because you just love Audi, so you'd go somewhere else. I don't know. So I guess it's something to consider, even though for convenience and efficiency, like Dylan thinks too, is like, of course you want it all under that same, you want to log into S&S and you want to see all of the warehouses and where the stuff is and not have to toggle back and forth and all that stuff. So, I mean, I get it.
Frank, there's something, and I think Andy, Dylan, and I can unanimously, Bruce doesn't order shirts except for when he's logged into my account, is S&S. Allegedly. S&S has a very like family atmosphere. Like I've been working with the Shannons forever, like an Amanda, like you can pick up the phone, someone answers. We had a rush order where we needed to pick up shirts Monday morning, and I called Tim on a Sunday night at 8 p.m. and he was able to pull it off. I think Andy and Dylan could both say there is some sort of family-like culture at S&S Activewear, where they just kind of take care of you, whether it's credit terms or you name it. Is that something you guys teach from the top down? Is that something, as you're acquiring a completely different company with different culture, you try to introduce? Is this just us observing it from the outside looking in? Like, tell us about, like, from your leadership team, how do you bring that through change management?
Yeah, that's the hardest, like, special sauce thing. And that's what's made S&S so successful. Like, that goes back to, the kind of ethos that were put in the business, like in the late 90s. And like, I came, and it took me a while to like wrap my head around that. Like, like that order that we pulled for you Monday morning at 8:30, like we didn't make money on that, but like you do it for the relationship and, to help your business grow. And then long-term we grow with you.
It was like 5,000 shirts. So I think it was pretty good.
Oh, it was? Okay, cool. Thank you. But like for us, it's like,
no, that was mine for 5 shirts.
It's like my wife's for 3 shirts for the school. Usually is the one that gets the rush order. No, but like that's the whole thing. It takes a while to like get people from the outside to understand that when they get there, or get here, I should say. And so like, it's super important that every touch point, whether it's credit, sales, customer service, the people in the warehouse all understand how important what we do and every chance we get to interact with our customers is. And so, like people, we've had really, really talented people that just like can't get there and change their behavior to be that way. And it just doesn't work. But most people at the end of the day, when they realize that they're in an environment where you can like choose to be happy and nice and then support customers or fight them, most people choose the former. And so like, that's the kind of people we've, had and continue to have. And we have like value. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Even more tactically, like maybe it is the values, because, there's hotels where it's like, look, if you can solve the problem under, I think, $200 for, a high-end hotel chain, just do it. Don't ask your manager. Are there specific things that it's like, all right, hey guys, here's how we operate to give that level of service that are very specific that help people make those decisions?
Yeah. I don't think we have like a fixed dollar amount, but it's like we've enabled salespeople, customer service people to fix it. Like I remember when I started Jeff would always be like, we don't want to be like a used car lot where it's like, well, let me go ask my manager. Yep, I can do X, Y, or Z. Like, we want people to do it. And if they make the wrong choice, like, we have the reporting in place to know, like, hey, Bob, like, you maybe shouldn't have told XYZ that you could pull their shirts by 8 a.m. tomorrow morning on a Sunday night, but like, and we want them to say yes to the customer. And like, that's what we really built the whole thing on, is like, we will be your solution no matter what it takes if we, physically can.
There's a reel right now at Chick-fil-A. It's like a fake reel, but you know how they say it's my pleasure. If they don't say my pleasure, they're in trouble anyway. There's a guy who's ordering, and the guy forgets to say my pleasure. And then a car pulls up real quick, and he goes, I said it. And then they put a hood over him and they take him away. You ever seen that? So it's like, I think that it feels like that at S&S. And I've been really thinking about relationships recently. I mean, personal ones, but also business relationships. And I have this thought that a lot of relationships are built on a lot of little things, a bunch of little things. They're not necessarily the one big thing why you stay around in a relationship. You could say, oh, S&S is the best cost or whatever. I think that it's not that, and that's a big thing. I think it's a bunch of little things. Like you just said, it's a family feeling. It's the inside sales reps. It's the outside sales reps. It's the accurate orders. It's all of the stuff that you put together, which is, I think, really hard. Because if you ask somebody, why do you like this or that the most? Sometimes you can't really put your finger on it because it's just so complicated. And I think that's really hard. I'm just kind of like tipping my hat to you. Like, how do you manage to do all of that and keep it all straight and then build that culture? You buy this other company or acquire this other company and you move in, and you have your playbook, like Bruce mentioned earlier, and you have your SOPs and you have your integration, your software and all that kind of stuff. But how do you get the people to buy in to all those little things that you guys do?
Yeah. I mean, I guess the first thing I'd say is it's hard. Like, the hardest part is balancing all of that. Cause like, if you're like, hey, like, all ShireCon cares about is the cheapest possible shirt, So then we could like reorient our whole business around making sure that we're the cheapest possible shirt for you. But then it's going to be less accurate. You're not going to have a sales rep. You're not going to have a cool website. You're not going to have great service or any of the other stuff you talked about. So like, and different customers care about different things. And like, to what you guys are saying, like, some customers don't realize how expensive an error is to them. And so like, we've tried to like stay in touch with our customers, have our salespeople engaged in like listening and figuring out what's important to each customer and being able to be flexible enough to tailor, their key things to them. When you talk about the acquisition, like, I mean, candidly, like, I spent 15 years this week at S&S. So it's like 15 years selling against AlphaBroder and like constructing that, what I thought Alpha was in my head. And, it was like my biggest competitor. And now like, and I've had good relationships with, Dan and others there for years. But like, you get to know them and it's like, actually there's way more we have in common than have apart. And so like, this bridge, this like kind of cultural thing that you guys are kind of circling here is like, was my biggest fear of doing the acquisition. But like, getting to know everybody, and I should say we, like, the Alpha team is just as focused on the customer as S&S. And like, it's just a different sort of approach to some product categories, a different kind of focus on different parts of the market. But like, everybody wants to do right by the customer. And so that's kind of the unifying force that's bringing these two businesses together. And that's why it's working so far. Like, the progress we're making on the integration's tremendous for how long it's been closed.
Frank, how do you build trust? Like, there's this term of like, Alpha and S&S are two giants, but they're going to commit to your leadership, right? Like, at a certain point, or you're going to have to like garner their trust. How do you actively do that, knowing that they've grown such a successful business? Are there parts of their company that you look at and highlight? Like, how do you like, it's almost like someone that works at Alpha is like, okay, these are my new parents, how do you build that trust with them? Do you bring in a company to work on change management and culture building? Is this like an episode of The Office, like Diversity Day, or like how does it go?
Yeah, I mean, so we obviously have consultants that are like helping from a project management standpoint, but like, at the end of the day, like, what's matters to people is communication and authenticity. And so like, we're committed to being super transparent. And, when we figure things out, communicating it as quickly as we can to our team and like letting them know where we are, what's important. And like, there's like the management teams are coming together. There's going to be members of both companies like up and down the org. This isn't like, come in and spike the football on the AB logo and everybody's gone. Like we're really joining forces and trying to capitalize on what each of us did differently and or better. And so like, I think for the, average employee on the team, like they're seeing, a real interest and real engagement, like, cross-functionally between the companies to like really dig into what each other were doing differently and better and trying to kind of emerge and build a company that's better than 1 + 1 = 2, really try and drive like to be what this industry needs us to be for the next decade.
I think one big thing with Alpha for a lot of printers was they are doing decorating as well. And then when you guys came along and said, hey, we're going to take this over, the biggest question was, oh shit, is now Alpha and S&S going to be doing decorating? What was the decision there with not continuing, or what is the plan with that whole situation?
Yeah. So, I mean, that was one of the key differences between, the S&S and Alpha business model. And obviously like the, kind of single invoice, fully decorated product solution, there's demand for that in the market. We just felt like the channel conflict that created with our decorator customers just wasn't worth that opportunity. And so, we're really going to be looking for ways to help connect decorators that we already, know with promotional products, distributors who need a decorator, and help enable our decorator to grow by providing them leads versus providing, a competitor. And so like,
I think a lot of torch and pitchforks were dropped when you guys were like, all right, cool, we're not going to continue to do that. So
they quietly close back the door. Like, oh,
yeah, it was just like, oh yeah. Like they dropped the knife from behind their back.
Yeah. Yeah, put it back.
Yeah, that's why we wanted to get that out really early.
Was that a really hard decision to make? Like, or was it a no-brainer?
I mean, I think it was a hard decision to make because
it had to have made money, right? Like you're getting rid of something that makes money.
that.
I mean, it's just like I don't know. We've like always been so focused on protecting our customers and protecting our vendors and kind of like all of us growing and staying in our lanes together that, like it sounds corny, but it's like one of those times where you look back at like, all right, like what's our values? Like, is this what we want to do? Does it make sense for everybody long-term? And like, okay, so we put 4 automatics in every S&S building. And then what? Like, we don't have the relationships you guys have. So then like, we just end up building another, business that looks like you, and it doesn't really sell one more shirt for us. And so like,
I think it was a huge move to gain trust in this merger to tell everybody, hey, we're not doing this. And this is for basically from what I've gathered so far is like you guys basically took it on to be able to service customers better, have more locations without having to build them all separately. You just kind of got a shitload all at once. So I just want to say basically thank you for dumping that part of the
Well, I think thank you for your wisdom and acknowledging that. I think that was a nice nod to the industry. Like it was very tasteful. Now, I don't know we don't know what the revenue looks like on that, but I think it was very much appreciated. Could you talk a little bit about what Mach 1 is? Have you guys seen this new Mach 1 thing coming out? Can you talk about it, Frank?
Yeah, I mean, so that's another thing that we're still kind of trying to wrap our heads around, but it's basically like a store solution. And so we're trying to figure out like if that makes sense for us in this iteration, how it looks. I mean, I don't know that I have like my arms fully around it yet. But there's definitely demand for like a storefront, like Bruce knows. And so we're trying to figure out like what the right way to address that is, if we need to have our own solution or if we can kind of partner with a variety of the, great ones that are out there. So,
and Steven, give a little background. I think it's home.miq 1.
Mach 1. Yeah, you could basically set up
Super
web
memorable.
stores. You can set up web stores, but they will handle all the fulfillment for you and just give you a cut of it, right? So it's similar to a Printful. So imagine if Inksoft connected to a Printful, Bruce, that would be like Mach 1, right? And so I thought there was some wisdom there because like running online stores sucks. There's nothing fun about it. And this could give shops flexibility to actually do that. So it was just interesting that came out at a similar time as your kind of message of we're not going to get into decoration. And so I imagine that was probably a work in progress happening alongside. So, because I think what's interesting about our industry is 7 or 8 years ago, it was about buying more presses, printing more stuff in house, doing everything under one roof. And now we're heat pressing a lot more. We're buying transfers, we're outsourcing, we're thinking about our businesses much differently. And so I do think there is some thought to how can our distributors make us more elastic, right? Like, Andy, didn't you pilot the transfer thing a while ago where you could buy transfers from S&S?
I think I signed up, but we never tried it. So
yeah
sorry about that.
Sorry.
As far as beta.
I don't know. But isn't that something you guys did, Frank, where you could buy transfers straight from the site?
Yeah. So that's, we partnered with Ninja Transfer to basically offer transfers on S&S website. And it's been pretty well received. It's been interesting just having conversations. I mean, I have friends that are printers that have, the capability to create their own, at first were like not happy about that. And, as we talked about it more, I think they're starting to understand, like, it can be a backup when my printer's down. It can allow me to flex capacity up. If it can allow me to take, small jobs that maybe I don't want to dedicate my own asset to. And so I think like we were thoughtful as we evaluated doing it. Like, we wanted to have it be something that was enabling decorators, not competing with them. But I think that there's a little bit of like the transfer thing still sort of new. I think the pricing that's out there, in sort of brick and mortar environment is still pretty, the ranges are pretty broad. So I think like when we then had a digital solution, people were, reacted to that. But I think it makes sense for us to keep doing. The quality and the feedback we've gotten has been great. So Andy, give it a try.
Yeah. After you finish the survey, Andy.
I have another question, Frank, just from a printer side of this. Other than the customer service being great, one of the big things that we've loved S&S for is a couple things. One is the high resolution t-shirt, like being able to download those for mock-ups and stuff. Is that something you guys have to go through now with all of the items from Alpha to, like, is that the plan, is to make all those as well? Because that's a huge help for us in the sales team.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that is. And so like you can imagine like just the undertaking of setting up all of the product. So like we have all the products set up now in our system. And so then like getting images, getting all the specs, getting all like the comparable companions mapped, like all the product attributes. That's like all in the works. And we have, a huge team working on that. But the idea is it'll be, we did a whole gap analysis on the 2 websites, compared functionality, like everything. We're going to have pretty much everything that was good about either of the 2 built into our site. So that'll definitely be part of it.
Is there any other like educational tools or anything for decorators on the S&S site that maybe not a lot of people know about, or is just like not a thing? Because
there definitely is. Great question. So we have a blog thing that comes out every Sunday called The Press and S, I guess, technically. But that's a great spot to check out. It's like under I don't know exactly where it is in the nav, but you should be able to find it in the header there. But there's great resources there. There's video content. And that's definitely an area that we're continuing to invest in. We want to, as the product specs get more complicated, like the decoration process gets more complicated. And so we want.
Yeah, I just didn't know if it was solely up to the brand itself or to S&S to say maybe, here's the high res downloadable shirt template or whatever, but also this shirt is dischargeable, or this color, like discharge chart or something where it's like this red, this royal, this whatever doesn't discharge well. Here's the difference. Like I think Bella used to do that a while ago where all that information was available. I didn't know if per item you guys have certain things where it's a little more elaborate in the capabilities of this garment rather than just like here's 3001 in red.
Yeah, so the product pages will have like information like that. I think we could do a better job of like, explaining more, particularly as you get in like the more, complicated fabrics, like what the right way to decorate it is. But like, we have like this like video area on the site. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called like the hub or something like that. But that has that kind of information.
Frank, we should test you on what type of comfort colors can be shot out. Do you know the difference? Dylan knows this. Bruce, do you know?
No.
All right, Dylan, you want to explain this?
Just look at the tag.
This is really cool. If the tag takes the color of the shirt,
you can't blow it out.
You can't shoot it out. If the tag remains the natural comfort color, it was enzyme washed or a different type of wash, and therefore you can shoot out those shirts. So printers, you're welcome. Me and Dylan learned this in Honduras when we were. Yeah. It was pretty cool. So
I just there's stuff like that. I mean, I don't know if you guys do this or not, Frank, and I'm sorry if you don't, but like there's stuff like that is like a huge customer service help to us and to our team that, like me and Andy and Steven and Bruce, we're all in this all the time and we're constantly consuming education stuff or whatever. But like our sales team, it'd be so hard for us to constantly be referring like this information to them, but it'd be cool if they could go to a page or about this, basically this blank that you're about to buy. Like, here's the key information that we've learned about it. Like Steven was saying, like with these comfort colors, like a just did you know kind of thing, or even like here's the spec sheets, or this shirt will DTG, this shirt won't, this shirt will have higher chance of pre-treat stains, and so on. Like all these different things. Like again, I don't know if you have that, but it sounds like you have that in your blog stuff or whatever. But it'd be cool if it was like on each item where it was just like information about this for decorating.
What if you could, Frank, we're just going to throw you some crazy ideas here. What if below the product, it was like Reddit and printers could comment on it of like, hey, watch out for this or watch out for
That's
this.
Super dangerous. It's just going to be like, this is trash.
And then you like upvoted. Well, no, it got upvotes for like, ooh, that was super helpful because we live in the Facebook forums. I know you're underground, Frank, but like, we're in all these stupid Facebook groups of 20,000 people asking the dumbest questions.
We waste a lot of time while Frank's doing $1 billion mergers.
We hired like in the last few years, we built out a team of people to do sort of decorator relations. So they manage our contract decorator network. But they're sort of they're all former printers. I took screenprinting in high school. That's my level of sophistication, but like, these guys like know this stuff. And so they're building this information, which, I think we could do a better job of getting it out on the site. Like we have it in databases for sales, and customer service to respond kind of inbound to questions. But like, I think it's a great idea.
Well, I just think it's like one of those things, like me and Steven were both on like the Gildan board of decorators, and it was kind of cool to go in and a little bit humbling and eye-opening to walk in and be like this massive company, and they're just so focused on creating these garments that they're not necessarily thinking about what the printer's thinking all the time. And they're like, how do we make this better? How do we do this? And then they have people like me and Steven in, and we're like, yeah, didn't you know that like it's really a pain in the ass to print a Comfort Colors pocket because you sew it on and then wash it and it shrinks and the pocket's smaller than you thought it was beforehand. And they're like, oh, or stuff like that. Or like, hey, this shrinks here. Or our biggest problem with this is, this moves this way or whatever. And it's kind of cool to have like printers be part of the solution rather than just a boardroom of people trying to sell more blanks. It'd be like, hey, like this would actually help you sell more blanks because now we know that this shirt will work for the project we're trying to do, rather than us ordering 100, 1,000, whatever, and finding out the hard way that, oh, this doesn't work the way that I thought it would, kind of thing, because the customer requested this blank specifically. Sorry, I went super on a tangent with this, but I just wondered if you had more educational plans.
No. I mean, it's super interesting feedback.
I was just wondering. I mean, if you're gonna take over the world, like what's the plan here? Are you just gonna sell more shirts, or are you gonna
I mean, we can't
educate us a little bit?
All the stuff you're saying is like what actually sells more shirts, So like we have to figure out how to build a good feedback loop like that.
I think what Dylan's asking for is like, Elon's new position in government. Like Dylan basically wants a new department of S&S, and Dylan wants to sit on it and, just rule from his throne. I'm curious though, like Frank, okay, so you are very low profile. We couldn't find anything about you on the internet and we searched. What do you spend your time doing like every day? Could you walk us through the day in the life of Frank?
Sure. So it starts pretty early because I'm on Pacific time. And I'd say, right now, the majority of it's around integration and just making sure that we don't drop any balls. But, normally it's I've got a really good team, so I get pretty frequent updates on different areas. And then depending on whatever is the pressing issue of the time, that's typically what I'm spending my most time on. But it's not like I don't know, it just ebbs and flows so much. Like at one point I can be like super focused on product, the next day super focused on warehouse issue, it's just all over the place. And so like if there's anything, I just like try to schedule a little bit of time to like do random things that I didn't expect to be coming for that particular day. But like it's hard to stay.
What's like the few KPIs that you watch? You're the Frank dashboard, maybe the top 3 that
it's like 100. But like, I mean, so we've built our own system. So like we have our own custom dashboards. And so because, I was there when we were building it, I got to have a lot of input in terms of what's presented to who and where. But like, I'm looking at, well, before I even wake up, like we get emailed all the like prior days sales information, warehouse accuracy. And the way we think about accuracy is like shipping on time and shipping what you ordered, which we measure a few different ways. And then throughout the day, I'm looking at like how far, like, I don't know if you guys know in our business, basically we come into a chunk of orders overnight and then we take orders all day. And then right before the cutoff time, everybody clicks checkout. So we have this huge spike in order volume.
Right at 3:59.
Yeah, exactly. And the truck leaves at 5:01. So it's like this crazy 2 curves of converging. Like you're like, okay, we're catching up. And then all of a sudden it's like, and you're hours back. So I kind of look at those things,
before you go too far, I want to ask the man himself, when is the best time in the day to order to kind of get the highest percentage of it happening?
Great question. First thing in the morning.
Okay. As soon as you open.
Yeah. Like the worst time to order. And this is like, I mean, the whole model is like scaled around being able to handle like Monday afternoon peak volume in peak season. So like we have to be able to hit that, but then the rest of the week it falls off. So it's like order accuracy, on time, like all those metrics. The later you order in the week and the earlier in the day, the better off you are. So like if you really,
a robot's a robot. No, I mean, how can does a robot care? A robot's not hungover. A robot's
did you try to watch? Did you try to watch the fight on Friday? Robots mess up too. S&S can't be like Netflix. They got to be better than that. Yeah.
No, I mean, there is still people involved. And like this new process like weighs the tote before the person picks, and afterwards we validate like that the stuff's the right stuff in the box. There's all this like cool technology around it to drive improved accuracy. But like at the end of the day, there's only so many robots and so much throughput and so many people that can pack orders. So like what we put in takes a ton of the errors and like misships out of it. We are already like way, way, way better than anyone in our industry. And this new thing makes it that much better. But you are encouraged to order earlier in the day by me.
Okay. So you gave us a rundown of a lot of your business, I guess, activities during the day, but what does Frank do to remain calm and chill? And like, so do you wake up and do yoga or meditate? And then, like how do you, with all these KPIs and all these, you wake up to an email, my gosh, I get that. I know that feeling, but like, what do you do during the day that's, I don't know, that's not business related?
He's going on the floor and busting balls.
I try to, because I start really early. Like I try like mid-morning to do like something.
Like jumping jacks? So like, what do you mean?
Something. Yeah, no, like some exercise or activity, you know. But I can't. It doesn't work every day, and it doesn't work when I'm traveling. But that's kind of the key thing. And then, like, you know, I have 2 kids, so I try to like see them in the evening, which is a huge kind of makes it all feel worthwhile thing. But like, I mean, I it's a super fun industry, and like it's, you know, like we get all wound up about like all these KPIs, but at the end of the day, like we're working with super creative people that are passionate about t-shirts. So it's like, it's fun, you know, and like it's energizing, and like I love it. Like I've been doing it for, I guess, 15 years. Yeah. So it's like, it's not, I don't know. I get energized by it. Honestly, it's not.
How do you navigate the day-to-day? Like there's never enough hours in the day where you're going to accomplish everything you want, right? And at a certain point, you have to just close the computer. How do you create, knowing that you're playing a very long game, how do you create balance for yourself, like while, you know, remaining positive, looking at the big picture? Like you are the captain of a massive cruise ship, and that is probably a ton of pressure. Like, how do you deal with it? I don't know.
We have a super good team. Like in the last year, I think we've hired like 20 like director plus people, which has helped a ton. Cause like we were really, really lean. Like you mentioned earlier, like Jim and Keith, like we were all doing 20 jobs, and have done all the jobs. And that's part of what made this company. And like when we developed our own system, what made all that stuff work is like, we knew the exact challenge that everyone's facing every day, and could build and use tech to like make it as easy on them. Now that we have more people on the team, like I don't feel like we have to do, you know, be as in every decision and minutia as we were for, you know, the first 25 years of the business's history. We've hired a ton of like super good salespeople that have great ideas too. And so like all of that's sort of helping to keep it to being, you know, where I can like turn off the computer at the end of the night and not freak out. But, you know, that's a struggle. Like, yeah.
Do you feel like you have learned to delegate? I mean, you have to have, right? I mean, because I think obviously you're at a way larger scale than we are business size wise, but how have you gotten good at being able to continue to level up to be able to,
like, where do you learn from
leadership style?
Yeah. I mean, like one of your guys' podcasts, like over the summer was like about like growing from like 500,000 to 1 million, or was it like, or 100,000 to 500,000 or something. And like, sort of like those key steps of like each level. So like when I started, we were, I don't know, 150 million in sales. And so like, there's like these breaking points of like, when you hit 250, when you've hit 500, when you hit 1 billion, when you hit 1.5 billion, when you hit 2 billion, when you hit 4, like that, you just like learn these lessons. And like, it all comes down to people and like getting people information, thinking ahead in terms of technology, like not being, you know, 1.2 billion, but still running like you're 750. And so like you learn that a couple times, and it's taken a couple times of like hitting those steps, and not reacting quickly or reacting in front of them to learn it. But like, if you don't and aren't thinking forward, like it's impossible to be successful and impossible to unplug.
You lean really hard on the team, then it sounds like, of, okay, this is a different company here. So we either need the right team for this next growth scale, or, you know, you guys need to level up a bit.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you have to be in front of it too. So it's like you have these like steps, and then you invest, and then step and invest. And it's like, you know, not everybody's capable of operating at that next level. And so like, and not everybody wants to. And so like, you know, learning that was a big lesson, you know, in the first 10 years of my career. That's helped a lot, like as we've, you know, grown more recently.
Yeah.
Frank, you can be
that hits home.
When they decided to make you, you know, CEO, and you know, I think it was, you know, Jim Shannon was the former one who's been in the business for a very long time. It seems like there's a lot of self-awareness of like, okay, you're the next best guy for the job. Take this. Were you expecting it? Did they come to you Did you have your eyes on this? Talk to us about like, what was that like for you?
I mean, I wouldn't say like I had my eyes on it. I mean, like Jim is one of my absolute best friends. Like we vacation together. We're super, super close. And so like, you know, I think it reached a point in time where like he was ready to do other things, be with his family. Like we were on the road, and the time before I had kids, like we were on the road every single week. Like I remember when we would share hotel rooms, like until like embarrassingly.
See, Steven, they shared hotel rooms too.
Frank, did you and Jim?
Okay, $1 billion in sales.
Wait.
$1 million in sales.
Time out.
They shared beds and room.
Did you share full size beds together?
Never again.
Dude, I told you. All right.
Andy would never share a hotel room with me ever.
I never.
That's not teamwork, Andy.
Okay, time out. When we went to the Mild Boys retreat, and Dylan got stuck without a bed, and I offered my bed.
True. I take it back. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Yep.
I apologize. He did say that. He did say sleep with me in the same bed. Slid me a drink that I was unsure about. And
you don't have an executive team until you share the same bed.
I did want to ask you real quick though, is there anything coming? I know you guys are doing all this merger and everything, but is there anything else coming that's new and exciting for us printers as far as like new styles, new brands, new anything else that's just we can look forward to?
Yeah, I mean, from like a product standpoint, we are like S&S just created like a standalone product function, which those of you that are familiar with S&S, like, I mean, we were kind of the pioneers of the fashion t-shirt in this channel and partnering with brands. And we were, you know, in the early days, sort of like the house of brands. And when we started to accelerate nationally, we slowed down the pace at which we were adding new product. And then COVID hit, which basically stalled everybody from adding new product. And now we are fully back, full tilt on adding new product, because our view is like, that's really the most direct way to drive growth for our decorator customers, is like if there's more that they can go sell. So like an example of that, like we just added medical scrubs, and, you know, like you're probably not going to go sell to like a hospital chain, but like a spa, a house cleaning, a hotel, like there's all these other applications for it where you're probably already selling them t-shirts, and then you can go sell a $50 set of scrubs. Like that's attractive for the decorator. It's attractive for us. And so, you know, we're thinking about other spots like workwear, chefwear, tactical, other areas where it's like markets that are super near where we're all operating every day, but maybe not as directly tied in as like the traditional product offerings that we've had.
If you could just scoop up Carhartt, that would be great.
I wish.
I'll just stick with you. Yeah. Just a couple.
Nike while you're at it.
What's some of the coolest tech you think? So like you mentioned a couple times, you know, we've done a lot of tech, and then also you've built this crazy in-house system, you've also said, but what, something we may not know behind the scenes that is just really impressive on the tech side?
So this freight algorithm I mentioned earlier is like super, super cool. It's been around for like 4 or 5 years, but we're constantly evolving it. Like when we built it, we went outside, and it was like more complicated than, you know, what the largest e-com company in the world was using. And so we built our own, and it's like more cost effective for us and provides better results for our customers. That's kind of a cool one that's sort of just invisible to everybody. We're doing a ton of work right now. So we have like a transformation department that sort of sits over all of these kinds of things. And like the automation thing was a big project. It's still ongoing, but we've built now, like we have data science department in-house, and they're doing a ton of work on like our product procurement model. So like what we stock, where, and how much, which ultimately is obviously super important to you guys because it needs to be really close to you when you need it. So we've used some pretty neat kind of stats and created some neat machine learning kind of feedback to drive better forecasting of the product, which is pretty cool. But it's something.
Is it a huge engineering team then?
Yeah, so we have a whole software engineering team, and then we have.
I was going to ask the same thing.
We basically are running like a a software company within our company. And like that's been a huge focus area for us for like 15 years. And so like we've built out a really good team. We have project managers, we have product people, we have data scientists, like that are all kind of collaborating on building these new solutions for us and applications.
I mean, it's got to be a huge deal. Like that's got to save you guys so much time and money and make it way more user friendly for everybody. So it's got to be a huge thing.
I got to imagine it's hard to buy some of this stuff off the shelf too. I mean, like freight optimize. I mean, this seems like so specific to your guys' use case, right? Or is it always a, cost analysis of sorts of build it or
most of the time it's honestly been like the software doesn't exist that we want. Like we went out and looked at, when we decided to build our own system in like 2010, we spent like a year and a half. We demoed like 6 or 7 different softwares for a week, where they like fully built it out. I mean, it was like our data and everything. And we just landed on like doing it ourselves because we knew we could do something that was better than what was out there. And it's been a huge thing for us. Like, I mean, we've been able to integrate acquisitions in, 30, 45 days, where you just would still be like creating tickets and queues for third-party solutions and with, different bars out there. So like, it's been like the biggest thing for us. And that's what's allowed us to grow so quickly, add these locations, add countries, do acquisitions like this. It's like the backbone of it all, partnered with the people obviously on the team. So
Andy, I know you've got a burning question.
Really, all I have left are these over-unders to close us out or to end it.
Well,
but I mean,
I'm curious. So Frank, like Sanmar produces a lot of their own blanks, Sport Tech, Port and Company, all that. When we were out in Utah, we saw that S&S is starting to dabble in that space, or maybe a little bit more than dabbling. Can you talk about, that decision to produce your own blanks, where that's going? Is that going to be a big arm of S&S in the future? Can you talk a little bit about that? I don't even know what it's called. I should know this.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I think the way we'll use private label is like where there isn't the right product from like a cost value prop perspective. So like, we don't need to like go reinvent a trade basic that is already out there and someone else is doing a great job making and marketing, or a fashion basic. But like when you get into these more niche categories, like the ones I was mentioning earlier, like, is there like if you were going to go buy a button down for one of your jobs, like what would you go buy? Like there isn't like a brand that necessarily hits that, at least that we've been able to find so far. So like that might be a spot where private label makes sense, or continuing to build on private label. But like we're not looking to like displace existing brands, scaled brands in this channel. That makes sense.
Yeah, that seems to make a lot of sense though, because it would be kind of unfair if you were just like, oh, I really like this brand's collar, I really like this thing, and then you're just made your own shirt and competed. That would be kind of difficult.
Like we don't want to compete with our vendors. We don't want to compete with our customers. And so like there's some white space around both where like it adds value to both to like fill it, for us to fill it. But like we're not looking to pivot from what made S&S what it is, which is like those partnerships. And so like, that's not changing.
Frank, would you ever merge with Sanmar?
I never.
Could you?
Never.
Could you, or would that be like? I
was going to say, before you answer that, consider this: if you did merge, you could be called S&S and S.
I will write that one down too.
Boys,
I'd rather just go every time.
Yeah. All right, Andy, what do you got?
Okay, so for over-unders, you want to go to it?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, Frank, we have over-unders, and what we do here is I have 3 things today. You just let me know if you think they are overrated, underrated, or properly rated. The first one is push-ups.
Oh, underrated.
That's it?
we can go around. Bruce, what do you think? Push-ups.
Yeah, under.
Over. I'm a big guy. I don't do push-ups.
Knock out a few every day. Okay, next we have, geez, I don't know. This is a tough one, and I think it's a little bit of both. I have a little bit to add to this when we're done. But the Jake Paul Tyson fight.
Oh God.
Is there a lower than overrated tier?
Just pure garbage. Say that.
aside from like, could any of you even watch it? I don't know if it's just because where I live, but like
I had
it was,
to keep
I had
refreshing.
I had to
I had to
log
keep
out
going
of
in and
Netflix
out.
and go back in like 4 times.
maybe I'm not qualified to answer since I didn't get to take it in one.
Yeah.
It was such
Frank
Frank
hot
also can't
garbage.
say because of the probably insane amount of merch that was outside of the building. So I would say, I think underrated from a marketing perspective. I mean, they literally captured, I'm guessing it was popular outside of the US as well. So they captured everyone for a few hours, and then overrated from a performance aspect. Dylan.
It just felt, aside from the actual fight, it just felt like a giant Netflix commercial. Like they had like the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, they had Squid Game people dressed up in the crowd, they had like a bunch of other stuff, which I get, whatever, it's Netflix, they're doing this thing, they know everybody's going to be watching it, but the fights in general were just such trash. Like, if anything, for somebody who likes actually watching like boxing and MMA stuff, like it's just kind of a kick in the nuts to like be like, this is not what it's really like. You know what I mean? Like, all these people are watching this and they're like, wow, this is lame. And it's like, yeah, it is actually lame. It's not what it's supposed to be. And Tyson's like, what, like 60 years old, and the other dude's what, like 27. And it was like, you're just kicking the shit out of an old guy. Like, that's all this is. And Tyson was holding back so hard. It was so lame. Like, Tyson, if he actually was trying, I feel like he could have won, but even at 60, but it looked so fake. Like he was just pulling punches. He was like chewing on his glove more than he was doing anything.
He was 50. I mean, I feel like if you're 58 and you're able to do something like that, I don't know. I feel like that's an achievement. You're, right.
No, I'm saying there was all these videos beforehand of him hitting heavy bags and stuff where he's like a monster. And then he gets in this fight with him and he's like weeble wobbly and like holding back. It just seemed like, Jake, don't take away my paycheck kind of thing.
Andy, are you like hosting a Long Beach boxing match or?
No. So my thought
Jeremy
on this
Lott
was
versus Frank Myers, or what?
Ooh.
I was underwhelmed, just like you guys. But I thought of it like this: like it was crazy entertaining because it served as this. Like a bunch of people got together. It was a party. We were all watching it. I wasn't sure, like like everybody's like, of course this is staged and it's set up, and they're, like Dylan said, they're pulling punches. They're not going to knock each other out or whatever. At the same time, I really wasn't sure. I was like, maybe something could happen here. I'm not sure, but it was entertaining. I laughed. I cried, the whole thing. I thought it was good. And so I'm going to say properly rated on that one, which, properly. I don't know. It's like, what great marketing. I don't know. They did a great job. But if I was a boxing purist, I would have thrown up and turned it off. All right. Final over under today is chicken nuggets.
Right. Which chicken nuggets is the question. Frank knows he has kids, and that's all they eat is chicken nuggets.
It's one of the 3 food groups next to mac and cheese and sliced apples.
My freezer at home is probably 60% chicken nuggets.
Yeah, same. And we don't have kids, so Steven.
Uncrustables.
Literally, we have Actually, that's how the hell did you? We literally have Uncrustables next to frozen nuggets that I just cut up and put in a salad in the freezer right now. Steven, under or over?
Underrated. Yeah, definitely.
Love some nugs, so I'm going to say underrated. It also depends. Like, there's a lot of really good nuggets out there. I've tried a bunch with the kids. No matter what, they want them in the shape of a dinosaur. So you got to make sure that's the selling point for sure.
Well, of course, I consume the Kirkland Costco brand. They're the best. So if you haven't tried them, highly recommend.
All right.
Frank, thanks so much for being able to join us. Congrats on the announcement. Congrats on the deal. Being able to bring everything under our website. I can't imagine the amount of just integration work and thought processes and, comparisons and back and forth and just making the bets. So that's really cool and very exciting to be able to see. I mean, Yeah, I think there's a lot of exciting things that's going to come out of it. Keep us posted. We'd love to have you back, especially when things are, more smoothed out. And we'd love to get more forward looking too on the next one. So for the shirt show and for the Print Whispers pod, plus for Press S&S, thank you guys for joining us so much this week. We appreciate you having me on, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Thanks so much for listening. Hopefully that was informative. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to hit the bell for notifications if you enjoyed this video. If you enjoy all the stuff we're putting out, it's really helpful. We love to just be able to see it. That means that we're doing a good job. To subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and hit the like button. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.